Alright, so this Saturday is UFC 313, and Rizvan Kuniev will be making his UFC debut against Curtis Blaydes, and a lot of people have been saying that this fight makes no sense and he doesn't deserve it, but in my opinion, I do think it makes sense, and I think it can be justified. But anyway, let me know if you think Rizvan Kuniev should be getting this fight, and while you're down there, I'd appreciate if you could like, subscribe. I think we're really close to 560 subs. Anyway, let me get into it. Now, for every single other division in the UFC, I think it would just be an automatic no, okay? For a guy coming off the Dana White Contender Series to immediately get a top 5 fight just makes absolutely no sense. But that's every single other division. We're talking about heavyweight here. Heavyweight, the moment you leave the top 6, it's just a bunch of blobs who genuinely don't know how to fight. These guys are absolutely terrible. I don't know how some of these guys are actually ranked, okay? If you look at the rankings, 2 of these guys are ranked coming off losses, okay? You have Jonata Denise, who got brutally TKO'd by Marcin Tybura, and somehow got ranked off of that win. And then you have Don'Tale Mayes, who somehow got ranked coming off 2 losses. Not even just 1, 2, okay? He lost to Shamil Gaziev, who is also ranked somehow. He didn't even beat anyone to get ranked. He just got ranked immediately. But Don'Tale Mayes is somehow ranked, coming off a loss to Shamil Gaziev, and then got submitted by a guy who isn't even ranked, by Walter Walker. How is this even possible for Don'Tale Mayes to be in the rankings? To be in the UFC is absolutely insane to me. How has this guy not been cut? Okay, they cut Romanov, they cut Jairzinho Rozenstruik, but they're not going to cut Don'Tale Mayes, who has like a WMMA record. It's actually crazy to me. And then the rest of the top 15 outside of the top 6 is just absolutely wild, okay? The fact that the best fighter outside the top 6 is Shamil Gaziev is kind of crazy to me. Well, not crazy to me, it should be crazy to everyone else. I mean, Shamil Gaziev is the goat of the sport and probably the greatest fighter of all time, but like, still, how is Shamil Gaziev getting ranked of beating Don'Tale Mayes? This is genuinely crazy to me. He's like number 12 right now, he's going to be fighting Spivak soon. This is insane, okay? Tai Tuivasa is somehow still ranked number 10, coming off like 4 losses. And then you have Taliesin Teixeira, who got ranked on his debut by beating Justin Tafa. Justin Tafa is genuinely terrible. How you can honestly get ranked off those wins is crazy to me, okay? Because mostly everybody outside the top 10, I think, all those guys got ranked without actually having to beat anyone ranked. How is this even possible? Like, heavyweight is genuinely the shallowest and least skilled division in the UFC. Like, it's not even close. There's genuinely nothing going on at heavyweight, and it's even worse outside the rankings, by the way, but in the rankings, it's pretty bad. And knowing this, it kind of makes sense why they're giving Rizvan Kuniev an immediate top 5 guy. Because Rizvan Kuniev, he beat Renan Ferreira in the PFL, even though he was like on the super soldier serum. But still, Renan Ferreira was a PFL champion, which shows that Rizvan Kuniev, roids or not, it shows that he's clearly a high-level fighter to some extent. And you know, all these other guys outside of the top 6, Loki would probably not even be champ at like Bellator or PFL. So I kind of understand why they're giving Rizvan Kuniev an immediate top 5 shot, because they do tend to give these guys outside the UFC coming from like PFL and Bellator. For example, Patricio Pitbull coming from Bellator is going to be fighting Yair Rodriguez in his first fight in the UFC. And I think Yair Rodriguez, I think he's like top 7 or something. Like, that's a pretty high ranked fight. They gave Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker pretty early as well. They do tend to do this, and considering Rizvan Kuniev did beat Renan Ferreira, I'm assuming it's just the same situation here, because Patricio Pitbull and Michael Chandler, they did have decent resumes. They were fighting at a pretty high level, you know, they were Bellator champions for a while. You know, the standards at heavyweight are much lower, so this is probably why they're just considering it the same thing. The thing is, when you look at Rizvan Kuniev's record, this guy just fights absolutely anywhere, apparently, because he does not stay in one promotion. And the thing is, his resume is not very good either. Outside of Renan Ferreira, he's beat basically nobody, okay? It's just been like Dana White Contender Series, PFL, Eagle FC, Dana White Contender Series, and it just goes everywhere. So outside of his fight against Renan Ferreira, which he was literally on more juice than like Captain America, he doesn't really have that much to his name. His resume is not very crazy. He's pretty skilled, but at the same time, is he really like top 5 level skilled? Like, he's beating like random cans like Eagle FC. So all in all, I don't think that Rizvan Kuniev necessarily deserves this fight. Again, his resume is really not that good, and you know, jumping straight to top 5 on your debut doesn't really make sense. But when you consider the heavyweight rankings and the way that they've been handling that, I think it just makes sense for him to fight a guy like Curtis Blaydes. Because another thing with Curtis Blaydes, he doesn't really have anyone else to fight. If you look at the rankings, like, everyone below him isn't really good enough to fight Curtis Blaydes yet. And Rizvan Kuniev has beat high-level competition, which again, I do think it makes sense. He just doesn't deserve it. But I do understand why the UFC is doing this. They're clearly trying to inject better people into the top 15 in the rankings. They're trying to inject new people. And, it makes sense. Okay, Rizvan Kuniev, again, I've said this like a million times, but he's clearly somewhat of a high-level fighter. So putting him straight into the top 5, because I'm not gonna lie, who really wants to see like Marcin Tybura versus Rizvan Kuniev? But like no one wants to see him fight like Waldo Acosta-Cortez. All these like random fights, I understand why the UFC wants to skip out of this, because their plan right now is just putting the most random guys into the top 15. You know, again, they're putting guys who haven't even beat any ranked opponents. They're just cutting random people who were kind of boring. You know, Rozenstruik was kind of boring. Romanov was kind of boring. Even though his last performance, the guy was looking like Alex Pereira on the feet and Khabib on the ground. So I don't really know why they cut him. But still, the UFC is just clearly trying to revive heavyweight because it's been the most boring and least skilled division for the longest amount of time, and it's probably always going to be that way because again, we all know the light man skill theory. I mean, at this point, light man skill is like more solid than like evolution, bro. But I'm glad they're doing this, and I think the next step from here is probably to just put in guys from the other divisions. I think they need to go to other organizations and just start poaching them, okay? A lot of people from light heavyweight are just moving up because they realize the guys are just terrible and they can just get what they want. You know, like Kennedy Nezuchuku, he basically was just like a, you know, random guy at light heavyweight, and then now he just moves up and he's like the next Cyril Gane. You know, that's literally how much skill it takes to become a ranked fighter at heavyweight. But I think what they need to do is go to other organizations and poach them, because you have so much talent like Vadim Nemkov and Anatoly, all these guys who are actually pretty good, okay? Especially Nemkov, because he's like Fedor's student, and he's like a genuinely good heavyweight. I think he would easily be top 5 in the UFC. He's like actually good. There's so many people like that who are like genuinely good, and for some reason the UFC aren't even like trying to recruit them or anything. You know, it makes absolutely no sense to me. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I think Curtis Blaydes will probably beat Rizvan Kuniev, probably by decision. I think Rizvan Kuniev is good enough and his wrestling is probably good enough to not get finished on the ground. I know Curtis Blaydes is saying that he's gonna finish him with elbows. I don't really see that happening. I do think there's a chance that Curtis Blaydes loses because Jailton Almeida was able to control him on the ground pretty easily. Like, way too easily in my opinion. Like, he basically just absolutely dominated Curtis Blaydes on the ground. So maybe Rizvan Kuniev can do that, but I don't think he has the same skill set as Jailton Almeida. And also, Jailton Almeida is just... he's just that good, okay? The guy is really talented on the ground, so I don't think that Rizvan Kuniev is going to be able to replicate that, but I think Blaydes is probably just going to be able to, like, outbox him or something, stop the takedowns. It's really going to be that type of performance. He's going to put a crafty vet performance, you know, like Edson Barboza did on Sadiq Youssef, but yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Thank you for Titano and Jorge and Cold Art Maker, and yeah, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe.
Finna take that lounge truck to Japan. I like the nigga, get your bands up. Yes, she can.